Okay guys, so my phone crashed. I apologize. I lost some of the details here on getting this differential ready to go, but this is what we got right here. This is what we're going to put in. It's a Eaton Tru Trac and a ring gear for a 410 gear and a pinion gear. And what I did to this point was I test fit the shafts. I took an axle shaft and I actually put it in there and made sure the splines lined up and the shaft did go in. I checked it on both sides to make sure that it was going to fit, and it did. So we're good. And checked the axle shaft on this side too and made sure it fit, and it did. Then I put the ring gear on the diff. And what you got to watch out for, I'm just going to explain it because I missed it. And right here, you want to make sure that gap is even all the way around when you put this ring gear onto this flange right here. Because mine was a little bit uneven, it was a little too tight. So what I did was, I took this little wore out sanding wheel right here and I went around the inside of that ring gear just a little bit and removed, just a skosh of material. And then that way it would still sit up and line up true right here, and there's no gap all the way around, and it was still tight because you don't want this thing moving around on this any. This is where all your power is getting to your wheels right here. So you don't want any movement. So I got the ring gear on there, got it facing the correct direction. And then I started putting the bolts in, and these are left-handed thread bolts. You got to go lefty-tighty instead of lefty-loosey. So it's like you're unscrewing it to get them tight. And then I brought them all up. I alternated, crisscross, and brought that ring gear up flush. And then when I did that, I took these bolts back out one at a time, and I put blue Loctite on them, 242 Loctite, and then ran them back down and torqued them to 120 Newton meters on all of them. And I put a little X on them, each one of them, to mark that I did them. So that's where we are to this point. Hopefully my camera will hold up and I won't lose anymore. But that's where we are to this point on this. Okay, now what I want to do, this is my new pinion gear. And what I want to do here is, these are my setup bearings. These are the ones I'm going to use to adjust. This bearing, when I sand this out, I want this bearing, I want to slide on and go all the way down there. So I'm going to clearance the inside of here. I'm going to hone it with a sander and make it bigger so it slides down on that shaft. Okay, so I've been sanding on these bearings right here. And then off camera, I got to looking at this shaft right here on this pinion. And where the bearings go on, it was looking kind of rough. It looked like they machined it and then set it on a shelf, and it had been sitting on a shelf for quite a while, and it had some kind of like a little bit of a buildup on it, not rust really per se, but it just wasn't clean. So I took some 1000 grit sandpaper and some WD-40 and I spritzed it down, and then I just rolled it on my hand, and just cleaned it up some, and that made it a little smoother so that bearing will slide a little bit better on that shaft right there. And then after I got done with it, these are my setup bearings. So I'm just going to use these only for preload adjustment, and then I'm going to save them. I'm going to have them. If I ever need to do this again, I'll have them. But I clearanced it enough on the inside right there so that now it'll slide down and it'll go all the way down to the pinion like that. That's what you want right there. You want that to slide right there. That way I can adjust my shims. If I need to go here, or here, or here, or here, or whatever, I don't have to press these bearings on and off. I can just take them off. And it's the same way on this top bearing right here. It just slides right down on top there. That way later when I'm doing my crush sleeve eliminator right here and I'm shimming, I can move my bearing. I can move it up here, right here, right here, right here. And I can get that preload on this nut just right. And then I'll take it all back apart, pull that out, and then I'll press my final bearings on there with my shims. and then that'll be a done deal, and that'll be a good piece right there. So that was worth the time and the effort. All right, guys. Next up, we got to do the carrier bearings, and you want to make sure on these before you put them on, just like everything else, that the part numbers are the same. This is an LM603049, LM603049. Okay, so these are the same. That's good. So what we're going to do here is when you put these bearings on, they're going to go just like this. So that way the race will come off the outside. See that? If I turn them around and I put them this way, you'd never get that race off. So you got to go this way with them. That's how it should look right there. And I'm going to get me a pusher here, and then I'll just push them down on there. And this is off of that bearing installer kit that I had. I'll just put the flat side right there, right on that race right there. And then I'll push. Right there. I'll line this up a little bit better though. Whoop. Okay, now I'll run it down close. I'll stop just before it touches. Right there, and I'll do my final line up. Because you want this to be straight. When you go pushing on this thing, it needs to be straight. Like that. That looks pretty good right there. I got everything pretty square here. Let's start pushing. Let off. You want to make sure your bearing is still good here. It still spins freely, just like that. It's all the way down against that, which it is. So that's good. That's all the way on there. That's what you want. Now we'll just do the same thing on the other side and push the other one on. This is going to be a little bit more tricky because I'm going to push on the race on this one. Because I don't want to push really on the housing here. I just want to be on the race here. So we'll kind of do the exact same thing here. Got our bearing, got our race. About there. Slide that in. And we will fine tune our line up here a little bit. We want to be straight. When you're pushing on this, got to be straight. That's not straight. I don't know about this because it has started crooked. So I'm going to try to straighten it out here a little bit. Actually, before I do that, I'm going to see if I can pop it out. Because, yeah, I don't like that. That's crooked. You don't want to be crooked. There we go. Okay. So yeah, the trick to pressing here is to be straight. I mean, really straight. And you want to stop before you go too far. You keep pushing on something, bad things are going to happen. Would help if my bed was straight, but it's not. So we'll just do the best we can here for what we got. There we go. That's it right there. Back off. And check it right there. That's what you want. Nice and easy spinning right there. Looks good. Brace fits on there real nice. And we'll check it at the bottom. Got no gap. It's all the way down on there. That's it. Right there. If you keep pushing on this and you keep pushing that down, you keep pushing that there, you'll ruin this bearing. It'll crush this bearing right here. This thing is 12 tons. That's 24,000 pounds of pressure that this thing is able to put on here. It'll crush that whole thing right there if you keep on going. When you're going down, you can feel it sliding down, and when you get resistance, stop. You're there. Don't overdo it. Now when you're looking at it, right there, that's all the way up against the shoulder right there. It's all the way up against the shoulder right there. So that is ready to go now. Okay, so now that we're ready to put this together to mock it up, to stick it in the rear end, we got to look at our shims. We got a master shim kit here. So what you got here is, these are the carrier bearing on the side of the differential, the one that we just pressed in. These are the shims left and right that they give you so that you can move your carrier left to right in there to adjust your backlash and stuff. You will shim each side as much as you need. Some shims are thin, some are real thick. You know, some of them are like 1,000, some of them are like 10 thousandths or more, so that you can move that carrier back and forth to set the backlash on the ring gear. These are the pinion shims, and these are what's going to go right here to separate the bearing from the pinion to control the depth, how far in this goes inside and makes contact with the ring gear. So I've been doing research on this, and they're saying 35 thousandths is a good starting point. So I'm going to measure out 35 thousandths worth of shims here and stick them on there, and we'll see what we got. This should be more than 35 thousandths. That's 110 thousandths right there. So we're going to take half of them out. Take half of them out. Let's see what we got left. So you want 30 thousandths. That's 0.030 is what we're looking for. That's 42 thousandths. So we'll take out a little bit more. There's 32 thousandths. That's 32 thousandths right there. So I need 2 thousandths. So I need a really small one. I think these are all going to be the same. Let me try this. I jumped up to 52 right there. That's too much. So let's take that one out. $34 thousandths, 33 and a half. I'm going to say that's 35 thousandths right there. So we're going to start with that, 35 thousandths. Put that right there, that's 35 thousandths right there. Then we'll put our setup bearing on top of that. Right there. See, I can still get it on and off. Right there. Still slides on and off. And we'll set that on there. And then we'll take it over to the truck and put it in there. And then we'll put this bearing on. Once we get it in, put that bearing on. Put our nut on. Put our yoke on, put our nut on until it gets snug, and then we'll be ready to put the carrier in. And then we'll be ready to do a paint test, pattern check. Okay, so we're getting ready to put the pinion in here and put the carrier in, and we're going to mock it up, and we're going to do a pattern check. But before I do that, I want to clean this up some. Right here, we still got quite a bit of oil and stuff in here. So I just want to clean this up here some. We'll just take a little bit of brake cleaner. And then I'll take a little compressed air here. And I'll blow out these bolt holes right here. So I don't want any oil in there. There was a lot of oil in there earlier. And I don't want that getting pushed up in there with my bolts when I'm putting this back together. There we go. That's better. Now, I'm going to keep a record of how I do this. So right now, when you look at this, this might be backwards to you. I don't know, I'm using the other camera. Left shims, right shims, the thickness on the carrier. And then this up here, that's the pinion. So I'm starting out up here with 35 thousandths on my pinion. And I'm going to do a pattern check and see what that looks like. So, what we'll do, gotta have your yoke to do it. So take our pinion, take the nut off of it. Take that top bearing off. We'll put it back on here in just a second. And we're going to take the whole pinion here and stick it in. Till we get it in there. Take your other bearing right here, put it on the other side. Till it goes up on there like that. There you go, right there. Then take your yoke, put your yoke on, and then take your nut. This is still using the old nut. Put the nut on. And we're not using any preload shims or nothing right now. So that means when you drive your nut down on there, I'm going to use a little impact, drive it on there. This little 3/8 impact right here, not a whole lot of balls on this thing. It's got enough. You just want to drive it down till you get some resistance. You don't want to tighten this thing down because there's no way for it to stop. Because it'll just crush the bearings if you have a big enough impact and you just put the sauce on it. So all we want to do is just tighten it up till we get some resistance. I might not have enough impact here. Oh, I forgot the washer. Hang on. That makes a difference. Oh, I forgot to put the washer on it. There's a washer that goes on in front of this nut. I still got just a ton to go. That's not enough impact. So we'll get the air impact out and we'll use an air impact on it and just bump it. We'll just bump it up there till it gets where it needs to be and stop. We're just looking for a little bit of resistance, not a whole lot, just some. Alright, I had to go back and get my air impact because that little one just wasn't enough. There we go. Now I got some resistance. That's what I want. Okay. Now that we have some resistance on that, we're going to put our carrier in. And I'm going to use the shims that were in it originally, just to kind of see how close that makes it, because I'm curious. Alright, here's one of our original shims that came off the left side. So we'll just stick that back in. Yeah, whether or not it's going to stay or not, that's a whole nother thing. Yeah, that ain't going to want to stay. Okay. Get this other one over here. Ain't either one of them gonna stay. That's great. I like it. Okay. Alright, so what we'll have to do is hoist this carrier up. Hoist the diff up. And set it in there. I'm just going to try and get it close here. And just kind of roll it in. Take a side shim here. Kind of ease it in there with it. And then do the same thing on this side. Whoa. Try not to get hit in the head. It's almost like you gotta be a contortionist or something to get this in. Man. This right here does not slide in and out. I mean, it's not easy. Try not to damage the old bearings here. Okay, that's it right there. Alright, so it's kind of in there, but I need to lift this side up a little. There. That way I can get my shim in there. That's close. I'm just going to start this so that it don't fall out and kill me. It still may try and kill me. I think this is just too tight. That's what it is. Alright, so I'm going to put the other cap in. I'm going to put the other cap in just to hold it, and then I'm going to go and get some shims. There we go. Okay, so it ain't going to kill me now. So that's good. I just got it laid up in there. I'm going to go get some shims and put some shims in it and see if I can get it better. I think the problem I'm having is the shim that I'm trying to put in there is just too thick. I don't think that's what's going on. I think the thickness on this shim right here, it won't go in there. So I'm going to go get some shims and we'll see if we can get it in there. Okay, so the shim that I was trying to get in on this side over here would not go. It was just too big. So I'm going to measure the thickness of it and see what we got. That's 245 right there. So let's do this. That's 221. We want to be around 235. I'm going to try 235. There's 225. That's about 230 right there. So we got 230 now, and this original one is 245. So we went down to 230. So let's just see if 230 will go in there. There we go. So 230 goes. I gotta do something better than that. I'm gonna go get a socket, put on that. Okay. Alright, so that is a lot. That's a lot of backlash right there. I can hear it. So what we need to do, take our dial indicator here. There we go. 6. When you look at this gauge, it's going from 56 to 76. All right, so that's 20 thousandths. So we need to tighten that up. But first, before we do that, I want to check the contact patch on this thing. So what we're going to do is put some paint on it, and we're going to roll it around and see what the contact pattern looks like. We'll just get in here and paint some of these teeth here. And see what's what. Okay, now we got us a couple of teeth painted here. And what we'll do is we'll just take it and roll it around here so it makes contact right there. Roll it back, roll it forward. Back here and see where our marks are. And it looks pretty good here. See, it's kind of in the middle right there, and it's halfway, it's down in there, good. You can see, let me get something here to show you. It's in the middle of the tooth, and the depth, it's down in there where it's hitting. That's down in there pretty good. That's almost like at the bottom. If you look at it, it's hard to tell from the angle, but look right here. See that? That's down in there towards the bottom down there. That's probably about as good as it's going to get right there. And then when you look at the other side here, it's kind of the same deal. It's in the middle. That's about right there. And the depth, you can see the bottom of the tooth. It's riding down in there deep. So that looks pretty good. I think that's going to be okay right there on our contact patch. Yeah. I mean, that's pretty well centered right there. I mean, it's a tiny bit forward, but I mean, just a skosh. I mean, I don't know if we're going to get a whole lot better than that. And then when you look up here on this one, I think if I move it forward, I think if I try to move this back towards the back right here, that it's actually gonna mess me up here. It's gonna move this back. And that's pretty good right there. That's right about in the middle right there. That's about where I want to be. So I think I'm gonna run that, and we'll see what happens with it. But I think that's gonna be okay. I think my depth was good. It was definitely deep, and in the center, it was dang near centered in here. But my backlash, I've got way too much backlash. So I moved my dial indicator, put it right here, and see if my carrier will move left and right, and it will not. I have zero clearance there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these caps back off, pull the carrier back out, and I'm going to take this shim, that's the factory shim, I'm going to take that out, and then I'm going to stack up shims, because I need a little less over here, a little more over here, because I want this gear, I need to move it a little bit closer to that pinion, so I can take some of that out, because that's too much slop right there. That's going to make a lot of noise. Okay. Alright, let me go grab some more shims. Alright, so I got some more shims. This shim is the one that came out of this side. So I want to measure it and see where I was. That's 233 thousandths. 233 over there. And then on the left, it was 225 on the left. Alright, so we were 225 on the left. So let's look at this. I know this is backwards, I'm sorry. It's the only way I can get you. So I'm 225, 0.225 on the left. And on the right, measure it again. On the right, I am 235. Okay. So I'm 235 on the right. On the right side, right here, that's right, that's left, right. 0.235. That's where I'm at. So what I need to do is I need to move this ring gear that way to the right side a little more. So I'm 225. So I want to add shims over here to push it over there, but I got to subtract shims over here because it will not go left and right now. I've got it sandwiched in there. When I got all them shims in there, it ain't moving left or right no more. So I need to add here and subtract here. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take this up, try to get it to 225. Let's go 230 if I can. Well, I had, how much backlash did I have? I had 20 thousandths in backlash. That's a shitload. All right, let's go more. Let's go 235 over here. Let's go 0.235 over here. 235, and then over here, see, we added 10 thousandths. Let's subtract 10 thousandths over here. We'll go 0.225 over here. All right, so what that means is, on the right side, we need to come up with 225 thousandths worth of shims. So let's see what we can do to make that happen. Take us a stack and just start out here. That's 204 right there. And we want 225, so we need some more. Let's take them off. Put this big girl on here. Let's see what that does. That's a big one. That's 270. That's too much. Let's take that off. Just run it like that. See what we got. We want 225. That's 232. Take another one off. There's 222, and we want 225. We need 3 thousandths. That's a thin shim. That's a 3,000th shim. Let's see if we even got that. That's going to be a thin one. Let's look at our shims here, see what we got. We need a thin girl, real thin. Paper thin. Maybe that one right there. Stick that one on there and see what that does. That's all we're trying to do here. We're just trying to put different combinations together because all these shims are different thicknesses, and just try to find something that'll get us. We want to be at 225. There's 226. 225. That's 225 right there. It hit it. That's 225. So what we're going to do, we're not using that, we're going to separate that. This is 225. That's going to go on this side. And then over here, on the left side, we got to get it up to 235. And right now, where are we at here? 235 is what we need. That's 225. So we need to add 10 thousandths to this. So I think what we're going to do is use the big shim again and then subtract. Do that. Alright, let's see what we got here. We want 235. 262. So we're going to subtract some more. 235 is what we're hunting. So let's come back here. There's 250. Take that one out. Still hunting 235. $220. Gotta add. Put that one on there. Hunting 235. There's 246. We're a little too thick. Take one of them out. Up. 235 right there. That's 235. 235. All right, so we got 235 over here. And 225 over here. Make sure, double check, always double check. See that? 225 right there. All right, now we'll put it back in with these shims and try it again. All right. Now we'll measure our backlash again. Alright, now we are at 27 to 37. That's 10 thousandths clearance. Alright, so it's 10 thousandths. 0.010. That's where we're at now. So we were at 20 thousandths, now we're at 10. So that cut it in half right there. So we're at 10 thousandths, and we want to get down to the backlash needs to be about 6 thousandths. All right. We're trying to get to 6, and we're at 10. So we added 10 thousandths here. So let's add another 5 on this side, on the left side. So when you look at this, right here, we're at 10 thousandths now. We were at 20, we were at 0.020. Okay, when we were at 0.20, we were right here. We added 10 thousandths to the left side and moved that gear over that way, 10 thousandths. And it took 10 thousandths out of the backlash. We need 4 more thousandths. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this up. We're at 235, we're gonna go to 240. So we're gonna go 0.240. That's where we're gonna go. So that means over here on the right side, we're at 235, 225. Now we're adding 5. 235, 240. We gotta subtract 5. 0.220. So we were at 225, we're going down to 220. All right, that's going to get this hopefully down to 5 to 6 thousandths right here. That's going to get our backlash set. So we need to get it up to 240. So we got to take this out again, and we're just going to do this again and again and again until we get it to where that we got about 6 thousandths right here. See, it's 68 to 78, 68, that's 10 thousandths of movement right there. So we're going to bring it over some more. needs to be. So after quite a bit of in and out, this is where we wound up here. That's about 5 thousandths right there. 5 thousandths. A little over 5 thousandths. That's about right. I think I'm going to leave that right there. And now we're going to check the contact patch again and make sure it's good. And if it's good, we're going to run it, because that is pretty darn close right there. I hope. I hope. All good thoughts. Alright, so we're going to put us some more paint on here and do another test here. Alright, I'll roll it around here and see what we got. Alright, let's see how it looks here. And it looks pretty good. And we'll go ahead and take the pinion out. So we'll remove our pinion with our setup bearings on it. And we're going to take this bearing off and press the final bearing on. Okay, now we're going to press the pinion bearing, the final pinion bearing. This one has not been made bigger. I got my shims on there, and it's going to go on like that right there. And I'm going to use an old race that I took out of the old pinion. That way I can press up on that and not my bearing. I'll just take it and flip it over. Put it right down in these blocks right here. right there. And then we'll have to raise our bed up some here. At least one notch. Raise this one up one notch. There we go. That looks pretty good right there. We're going to go back here to our bearing installer here. Might put two of them on there. There we go, yeah, let's do that. Run it down till we get close. There it goes. Right there. Take that off. Still spins. Good to go. Alright, I'm going to check it right there. See that? That is all the way up against it right there. So that's good. Our bearing spins good. So that is now on there. Just like that. There you go. Alright, now it's time to talk about pinion preload. So normally, when you put this pinion shaft in, you got to adjust the tension between the bearing that slides on here and this bearing right here. And to do that, you would use a crush sleeve that would go on there like that. And you would actually push that bearing against that sleeve and it would crush that sleeve. And that's what gives you your preload on your bearings right here. This is a crush sleeve eliminator. And it's basically a piece of metal, and it is you're not going to crush this. But what you're going to do is you're going to put shims on like that, these little metal shims right here, and then you put your eliminator on, and then your other bearing goes on top of that. And then what you do is you use these shims to control how far or how close the bearings are from each other to create the pressure, the tension that it's going to, the force it's going to take to turn this. And you want it to be between, I think, 14 and 19 inch-pounds when you're turning this shaft. That's how much of a load you want on these two bearings right here. So that's what we're going to do, is we're going to mock this thing up and see what kind of shims we need to get to where we need to be on this. And I'm going to start out here. This is still my setup bearing right here. See how it slides over right there? The final bearing will not. I'll have to press it on. And I'll use the nut to do that. But for this purpose, I'm going to start with all of my shims and then see what kind of resistance I get, and then I'll start backing off shims right here until I get my preload where I want it. Alright, so I messed around with the shims and I finally got it to where it needs to be here. So what you got to have here is a special inch-pound beam rod here to put on there. And then when you rotate this shaft, it should be between 14 and 19 inch-pounds. So as you rotate it, you watch it. And that's right, that's about 15 inch-pounds right there. So that's what we're going to go with right there. So we'll take it back apart now, and we're going to push on the final bearing onto that eliminator with this new nut. I'll put the new nut on here. And yeah, then we'll have our final bearings on, and this right here will be done. Then we can put our carrier back on and start putting it back together. Alright, this will be the final setup for the pinion. We got our shims right finally. That took a lot of rinse and repeat, but we finally got there. So what we're going to do now is put this pinion shaft in for the final time using our final bearings. And I'll take this right here and I'm going to put a little oil on our bearings right there. Get our bearings lubed up, because this is going to be their final time going in, thank goodness. There we go. Get everything lubricated. And then I'm going to go ahead and hit the races with a little bit of oil on my finger. Get all that ready. And the same thing, I put some oil on my finger right here. Get all that lubed up. Alright, now we'll push our pinion through. Get it where it's happy. Right there. And get our other final bearing. Get some oil on it. Get it lubed up real good. There we go. And push it in. Right in there. And then what we'll have to do is put our yoke on. And get that bearing started. Yeah, that's going to be close right there. Mighty close. There we go. Right there. And then we're going to have to start this yoke on here, get that bearing on there a little bit. Like that. So that we can get our oil seal on. There we go. Now we need to put our oil seal on around here. And we will accomplish that with a driver. There's our new seal. And our driver's not going to work because we have this shaft coming through. So that's not going to work now. Great. So we're going to have to back up and punt here and use a hammer. We're going to line it up straight as we can get it. And just kind of ease it in there, being sure not to hit one spot too much. That's in there. Good. Now we can go back and put our yoke on again for the final time. There we go. And put our nut on. And then I'm going to go get some Loctite. I'm going to put some red Loctite on there. And I'm going to hit that. Where you at? And I'm going to hit that home for good. And yeah, I'll put the final nut on there. My new nut, red Loctite, send it home. We don't want this stuff moving around. We don't want to drink it either. Golly. Stuff is nasty. Now take our new nut, put it in there. And then we'll take our beam and check the rotation with the beam. There we go. That's what you want right there. Get over here out of the way. When you rotate this thing, right there, that's about 15. Right there. Come back this way. That's about 15 right there. That's what you want, about 15. Alright, so we got the pinion installed. And now we're going to install the carrier one more time. This is the final time. So we're going to put a little oil on the bearings here. Take our races. Put some oil in there. Take our other side. Some oil in there. There we go. Alright, now got it started. Take our shims. Kind of get them started. We'll take our other side of shims. Get them up, get them started. Everything in there where it's happy. There we go. Alright, that's where that wants to be. Okay. Got our shims in straight right there. That's good. Now we'll get us some straps going here. Another strap here, another cap put on. Get it started. There we go. Now, make sure everything rolls good here. All right, that looks good. It looks like our wear pattern has not changed, so that's good. All right, now we need to take these bolts out one at a time and torque them. And we'll put Loctite on them too. All right, now we're going to back these out and put Loctite on them and go to 75 Newton meters. Okay, we're going to set our torque wrench to 75 Newton meters. Alrighty, that's got that. And next up, it's time to put the axle shafts back in. And I'll double check this one right here and look for my L. It should be on here. Right there. Right there, L. Left. That's the left. Right there. That's in there. Now we're going to put the other one in. Okay, so after the axles are in, next up is we got to put the C-clips back in them. So you can see right up in there. That's where we're going to put our C-clip. So we'll just take our C-clip and stick it right in there. Hopefully. Actually, we're going to need a magnet. Let me go get a magnet. There we go. Okay. Now, just take our C-clip on a magnet. And stick it right up in there. Right up in there. Like that. I'm going to push this axle in and put the other one right there. Man, that's tight right there. There it goes. Push it right in there like that and pull it back. Same thing on that one. Pop it back. That's it, man. Getting these axles out, I mean, it's a million times better on this. I mean, look at that. They're in. Ain't nothing to it. If I ever have to come back in here, that'll be no problem right there. Then you take this puck right here, and it goes right in there. Just so. And that's what keeps your axles from coming together and the C-clips falling out. There's this little spacer right here. See if I can get something in there to help. There it goes. You just push it right up in there like that. Then, after that, you get this plug right here. And it goes in there somehow. Not sure exactly how you're going to get by the ring gear on it. Okay, there you go, right there. And push that in. And then you got a snap ring right here. That right there. And get you some snap ring pliers. And get a hold of it here. Well, I need to do a better job than that. That's not a good job. Hang on. Alrighty, I struggled for about 10 minutes, but I got it. The C-clip's in there. And there's a little bit of room there for that to spin, which is good for oiling and stuff. And I made sure that C-clip is all the way in there, so that's good. So that's got us right there. All we gotta do now is refill this. We'll put the cover on, clean it up. I got the C-clip in there. It took a little bit of fighting, but I finally got it in there. And yeah, she's ready to rock now. Okay guys, so I cheated a little bit. I was running out of daylight, so I just went ahead and put it back together. You guys saw me take it apart, so you know the steps. You know that you have to do to do all that. So yeah, you know. So I just went ahead and put it back together. Runs good, drives good. I'm gonna have to program the computer for this rear end because it still thinks I have a 342 in there. And so the speedometer's not right, and ABS light's coming on, so I think it might be conflicted on the speed and stuff like that. But yeah, man, it makes a little bit of noise on a decel when you're coasting down to a stop at high speed. But from what I've read, that seems to be pretty common for these rear ends, so I don't know. I checked the temp. I drove it about 15 miles real easy, brought it back. It's about 142, and so that's okay. It's not overheating or nothing. It's warm, but it's not hot, and that's okay. There's no funky smells or nothing, and other than that, it drives good. Okay, so there's one more thing that I wanted to show you before we're done. Like, you do the gear change and everything. Everything's good, running good and everything, but you're still not done. You got to change this in the computer. You got to change your ECU on your truck to recognize that you got a different gear in it, because the speedometer is going to be all jacked up. Your ABS is probably going to be twitching out because the tires are going one speed and transmission's going another, and the computer's just going, you know, what the heck. So what I found is you just go up here under Edit and then go to Gear Tire Wizard, and then it pulls up where you're at. I've already changed mine, but this is what you do. Like, mine did say, like, you know, 28-inch tire or something, and I had a 342 right here. So I changed it. I've got a bigger tire now. I'm running about a 31-inch tire, and I've got the 410 gear. I also left the adjust speedometer calibration and the scale transmission parameters. Those are both checked. I want it to automatically change the tables for me because I'm not smart enough to know how to manually scale it to make it work right, because I just don't know enough about HP tuners to do that. So that's all I did right there, is I just changed it to a 31-inch tire and a 410 gear. And then when you hit adjust, it changes it to the current level right here. And then to double check that, you can go up here to Speedo and look over here at calibration, and it'll tell you right here, final drive 410 to 1 right there. So that's how you know you took it, and the computer saw it and it's in there now. So that should make it run properly now, and your speedometer should work properly now too. So that's the final thing. Just wanted to show you that, guys, that before I forget and then don't upload it. So like and subscribe if you like what you're seeing, and I'll do some more. Alrighty, guys, so I've been driving this thing for about 120 miles-ish now, and it sounds pretty good and everything, except on the decel, I can hear it kind of, it's got like a whir in it a little bit. When I'm on decel, when I'm slowing down, I'm off the gas. So I think I've got my backlash on my ring gear a little bit too tight. But in any case, I'm going to take it back apart, and I'm just going to check everything and make sure that my pinion preload is still good and still there. Make sure that didn't change. And then I'm just going to check my bearings and make sure I haven't messed up any bearings or anything, or make sure I'm not doing any damage in here. I want to catch it before I do anything bad, because I've got a lot of money in this thing now. So we're going to take it apart, and we're going to check the pinion preload again and the backlash and see where we're at. Alright, so I'm looking at my backlash here. Here's the focus. And it's 5 thousandths. That's where I'm at now. That's about 5 thousandths right there. Yep, that's right at 5 thousandths. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and pull the carrier out, and I'm going to check my pinion preload and make sure it's still in spec. And then take my bearings apart and take a look at them. So yeah, the wear pattern looks good on it. It's right in the middle. It's almost the whole way down the tooth. And yeah, I'm good with that. I think it's just, I think what it was I lost my preload on my pinion shaft, but it didn't damage anything. But I am gonna have to reset my pinion here. And this right here, this is the crush sleeve eliminator, and these are the shims right here. So I'm gonna have to do some research on this and figure out what is going on here, because I lost my preload with this, and I should have not have lost it. So I'll check back with you when we get it back together. Alrighty guys, so we are resetting the pinion preload here. I drove in new races, and I got new bearings because my preload, I don't know what happened to my preload, but it was not enough. So we are going back and we are re-shimming now, and I'm going to show you how to do this. This is how I do it. I watched a bunch of videos, but this is how I'm doing it. So I was a little tight on my preload when I measured just a minute ago. I've got my setup bearings on here again, right there. And I measured this shim right here, and it's about 25 thousandths. That's about where I want to be. So I'm going to drop it back on there. Right there. And then you take your crush sleeve eliminator, this metal disc right here, that's your eliminator. Put it on top of that. And then we're going to feed the whole deal through here and put our yoke and nut on there and check it. Alright, so I've got it pushed through. I ain't put my nut on yet, but I got my washer on there. And what I did was I took the old nut that came off. This is the old yoke nut that came off. It's junk now. What I did was I cut it with a grinding wheel. I cut that shoulder off of it. Let's see if I can find my other one here. This is a new one right here. You see how it has that tapered end on it right there? That's what locks it, locks it. That's like a lock nut. And it tries to lock it down on there. I took my old nut and I ground that off. So now it's just like a hex nut. There's no resistance here. So when you go to put that on, it'll go right on there. And it'll help you to set your preload. So now I've got it, and I'll just start it on there. And this will allow me to get it. I can sneak up on it now. Don't use an impact when you're doing this. Do not use an impact, because it'll throw you all over the place. You want to bring this up slowly. While you rotate this, you tighten. Rotate while you tighten. And I'll stick a socket on there. And as you're tightening it up, you're rotating it. And you want to come up on it real easy like. You don't want to hammer down with an impact. I made that mistake. I think that might have been what cost me a set of bearings. Was the fact that when I set this, I used the impact. And I think my shims weren't right. And it gave me a false reading because I may have just messed up my shims. I had to get new shims. So we're going to come up on this with a torque wrench, and we're going to bring it up to like 140 foot-pounds while we're rotating it. And then we'll check rotational torque. It's a little tight. It's about 20, 22 inch-pounds turning it. But that's all the shims that I had. It was either going to be a little bit too tight or nothing. I couldn't make any combination work of the shims that they gave me for the kit. It was either going to be a little bit too tight or loose. And I can't have it loose anymore, so I opted to go for a little bit tight. And then I took the carrier in and out, I don't know, 20 times, trying to get my backlash to 9 thousandths. And I got it as close as I can get it. I got it tight. I mean, these bearings right here, you could tell on the inside of the races, I'll show you in a minute, that the preload, I didn't have enough preload on my bearings on the side load. So I made sure that, and I kept reading in different places where they say if you can take this out with your hand, it's too loose on your side preloads. You got to use a pry bar to get this thing in and out. It's got to be that tight so that you have the pressure on your bearings so that they don't, you know, so they got enough preload on them so don't wear your bearings out. They don't gall, you know, they don't move around in there. So it's got to be tight. And you got to have a pry bar to get this thing out now. It's in there tight. And then I'm checking my backlash here, and it's about 9 to 10 thousandths. That's as good as I can get that too, because I'm going to be honest with you, I am wore out from taking this thing in and out so much. So now I'm going to paint a couple teeth here and do another pattern check and just make sure that everything's still in the middle here. I didn't change anything on my pinion shims or anything. I just changed the preload on my crush sleeve eliminator, and I changed my backlash. So I'm going to do another pattern check, and we'll see what that looks like. Alrighty, so I did another paint check here just to make sure, and everything is still in the same spot. Even though I've increased my backlash, it's still in the middle right there. It's a little bit forward right there, but it's not much, just a little bit. So I checked it right there, so we're still good right there on our pattern. So I'm going to go ahead and put the axles back in and put it back together, and we'll take it for a run and see what it sounds like. So that did it. I got it all back together, took it on a test drive just now, and everything's good on it, nice and quiet. I don't hear any noises or anything. Took my temperature on it after driving it a couple miles. It's about 167 now. So I'm going to take it and just keep driving it and keep breaking it in. You know, no more than 40, 45 miles an hour, just city driving. And until we get to about 500 miles, I'll keep monitoring temperatures and stuff. And that seems to have done the trick. That made everything nice and quiet. When I let off the gas now and slow down, there's no noises. It's not making any noises now. So that's what we want right there. That's how it should have been from the start. I should have known better and done it sooner and saved myself those bearings, but this is my first time doing it, and so you learn, you know, as you go, you know. And I get in there and screw it up real good, and that's how I figure out how to fix it and what not to do. So, yeah, I'm really happy with how this came out this weekend. I'm thinking that might have been it right there. It should be set now. The side bearings on that differential, they're good and tight now. And, yeah, they're tight. And the temperatures are okay. The pinion preload is definitely there now. It's a little tighter than I wanted, but that was all I could do with what I had, and that's what they gave me with the shims. I tried to do them individually and stack them and mix and match them and try to come up with a combination that would work, and in the end, that was the best one that came out, was how I did it there, and it's a little tight, but it's not making any noises, and the temps are okay, so we're going to run it, and we'll see how it goes, and I'll give you an update. Thanks for watching.